and welcome to the DAZN Soccer Show. I'm Adi Oladipo, joined by former Premier League fullback, the likes of Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Blackburn, Stephen Warnock. Stephen, 8 games gone now, or some have played 8, some have played 7 in the Premier League. Any surprises for you? Is anything that sort of stood out like, okay, I didn't expect that?
Well, I'd say probably Fulham. I know they got a little bit of a hiding against Newcastle at the weekend, having got a man sent off and losing Mitrovic through injury. But the start that they've made and the signings that they've made, you look at them and you think, wow, they've really taken me by surprise. A lot of people were surprised again the way Leicester have started. I actually
Yeah.
wasn't because of the transfer window, but I also thought that they looked quite stagnant last season. But they got a big result against Nottingham Forest in the Midlands derby, and will that see them sort of turn their fortunes around? But I think the biggest surprise is obviously Liverpool, and the way that they've started the Premier League season. We look at Liverpool and you just think, how's this happened? How's this happened after the Community Shield game against Manchester City, where they look so dominant and they look so lively, and everything seemed to look rosy. And the signing of Nunes coming in, scoring a goal, looking so good in that game, scoring a goal, coming off the bench, and also Mohamed Salah signing that new contract, and it's just not being what we all expected it to be.
All right, let's focus on Liverpool. Premier League game this weekend, massive one as well at the Emirates against Arsenal, who are top of the table. Look, I guess this is the real acid test for Arsenal. I know last week was in the North London derby, but I think people are now talking about them being genuine title contenders. And if they can beat Liverpool at the Emirates, then I think it's on, isn't it, in terms of actually maybe being the team to push City. How impressed have you been with Arsenal start to the season?
Yeah, been very impressed. I think first and foremost, the acid test would have been if Liverpool were at the brilliant best. I think this
Yeah.
is this is a great time for Arsenal to play Liverpool because they're still not at the best. And then if they weren't to beat them and Liverpool aren't playing that great, then it looks even worse for Arsenal. And then people will turn around and say, well, if you can't beat Liverpool the way they've been playing at the moment and they've not been great, then it doesn't bode well for the rest of the campaign. But I think they've been superb. I think what you're starting to see now with obviously Jesus coming in and scoring goals at will and closing down. It's the intensity in which he closes down that's changed the way Arsenal can play completely. Pep Guardiola once said he's one of the best pressing forwards in world football. The way he closes down is why he was brought to Manchester City, and we're seeing that with Arsenal now. It allows players like Xhaka, like Thomas Partey now to play higher. It allows the back line to play higher and be more aggressive because the balls that are going forward from the opposition team into forward players, now they're under pressure. The balls aren't of that quality because of the way that the forward players are pressing. So, been very impressed with them. Very impressed with, first and foremost, Mikel Arteta. The job he's
Mm.
done. Some people were calling for his head last season, three
Yeah,
games
yeah.
into the season, and you look at the vision that Edu's had, because Edu's got to take huge compliment as well because of the job that he's done at the club, and he's sitting in in that changing room or in that meeting room with Mikel Arteta, and he's seeing the vision, seeing what he's trying to push out onto the pitch, and all he knew was if I give him better players, he can pretty much roll out what he's telling all the players and put that on the pitch and execute that game plan, and we're seeing that now. So yeah, this is a test for them, but they should, on the form book, turn Liverpool over, but we all know that's not the way it works.
Yeah, especially when Liverpool have been so successful in this fixture in the past, haven't they? The Emirates have been a happy hunting ground for Klopp's sides in recent years. Before we touch on Liverpool and their poor start to the season, and hopefully it might have turned a curve after this Rangers performance, from a defender's standpoint, when you look at Arsenal, look at that new back four, if you like, of Zinchenko, of Saliba, Gabriel, and Ben White now going to right back. How good does that look? That for me looks really, really strong.
Yeah, it looks solid. I mean, Zinchenko brings a different dynamic, doesn't he? Completely, almost very similar to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Not the greatest defender, but what he brings you as an extra midfielder, stepping into those positions. Also, the winning mentality, coming as a winner, understanding what it takes to win league titles and play at the highest level. Won't be overawed by playing for a club like Arsenal because he's played for Manchester City and he's played at that highest level. But the one player who's been outstanding is Saliba. I mean, what a signing he's been. There's many people saying that Marseille wanted to do a permanent deal for him. They wanted to take him full time. And Arteta knew it was about giving him game time, getting him more understanding, playing competitive level, bringing him back this season. Calm on the ball, aggressive in defence, and he's pushed out a £50 million centre half who they bought in Ben White to the right back position. So it shows you how well he's been playing, but it also shows the versatility of Ben White as well, who's been exceptional in that position. But the back four looks really together. It looks very, very well organised. But it also, you have to put into consideration as well Aaron Ramsdale, the ability of him behind them, talking to them, being confident. I think he's so confident in what he's doing that pushes across to the defence in front of him. And they believe, okay, if you breach us, we've got a very talented goalkeeper behind us.
Let's talk about your former club, Liverpool. As you said at the start, I mean, this is a team that a lot of people thought would be going sort of nose to nose with Man City again for the title. Hasn't helped or hasn't started so well this season. Klopp normally does the 4-3-3, right? And he's very sort of rigid with that. Against Rangers, he went to 4 up front with 2 midfielders sitting. Does he keep that formation against Arsenal, or does he go back to the tried and trusted 4-3-3, do you think?
I think he'll probably stick with it, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's a tough one to call, but if you want to go and press Arsenal and you want to press them in the right way, I think there'll be changes in the front line. I don't think Nunez will play. I think he'll go with Jota because of his record at the Emirates. It's very, very good. He's caused them problems over the last few years there. And I think the intensity in which Jota closes down, I think he'll play the forward line. I think Firmino will play behind him, and Firmino will drop in. And what you've got to remember about Roberto Firmino is that over the years that he's been at Liverpool, he's been one of the best at winning the ball back, pinching the ball off midfielders' toes and then turning defence into attack very, very quickly. Very clever player. Also, the link between the midfield and attack, he can drop into those central midfield positions. So he'll make it a 3 effectively as and when they need him to. So I do think there'll be changes, but when you look at that forward line and the intensity in which they can press, but also the speed in which they can get behind the Arsenal backline, who will try to dominate possession and will play high up the pitch, that will suit Liverpool going in behind.
Yeah, you almost feel like it could be a battle of the midfielders, right? That kind of 4 midfield area between Partey and Xhaka. And I'm guessing Thiago and probably Henderson. Fabinho might come in, but that midfield battle could be key. I want to focus on another big game in the Premier League. This one's at Goodison Park. Everton, who've done quite well under Frank Lampard this season. A lot of people picked them to go down this season just because of the awful end to last season. Against Manchester United, who are coming off that drubbing against Man City. Big test this one for Ten Hag going to Goodison.
It is. I think the big question is will we see Casemiro finally start for Manchester United? I think there's been a lot made about that signing and does he come in? I think we'll probably still see Ronaldo on the bench. I don't really see him starting. I don't think he's part of Ten Hag's bigger plans, if I'm being completely honest. I think he'll be more of an impact substitution throughout the season. But from Frank Lampard's point of view, very, very clever in the transfer market. I say clever, very sensible. Just bought in players who knew the Premier League. Tarkowski and Cody, outstanding centre-backs who want to defend, who want clean sheets, who it means a lot to get clean sheets. They pride themselves on that. And as a defender, I love seeing that. But the communication that they've got for the rest of the team, going into the midfield, Idrissa Gueye, really good signing. We know what he's capable of, played at the highest level, Champions League now with Paris Saint-Germain. But Onana, you look at him and Iwobi, and I just think athleticism, but quality on the ball as well. And what a turnaround for Iwobi. I mean, I've been to Goodison a lot in the last couple of years, and I've watched Iwobi under previous managers, and he just looked a shadow of himself. And now I see him under Frank Lampard. And people often say, what can a manager do? How can he change the fortunes of a player? Well, he's instilled so much confidence into Iwobi that he's arguably now the first name on the team sheet. He's that good for Everton. And I'm so pleased for him because I've been in situations like that myself in my career where I know I'm capable of more, but I need the manager to help me. And you look at Frank Lampard and what he's done for him, I think it's been brilliant.
Looking at United, you mentioned Casemiro, fingers crossed he comes into that midfield area. What do you think he does then in terms of removes? Do you think it is a straight swap with McTominay? Do you think he maybe looks at resting Bruno or Eriksen? Or do you think he goes Bruno, Eriksen and Casemiro?
I think he goes with that 3 that you've just said, Bruno, Casemiro and Eriksen. I think if you lose Eriksen, you lose that penetration, that ability to hit forward players off one-touch passes around the corner. I think he's a superb footballer, highly intelligent. I think when you saw him going at Brentford, I think you saw the speed in which Brentford started to attack, the pictures that he has in his head straight away of how the game evolves and what he sees happening next. He's probably 1 or 2 pages ahead of most players on the football pitch, but also able to execute it as well. But I think McTominay he's been very good for Manchester United. But the way I see
Yeah.
it is that you've got a World Cup, well, you've got a European champion multiple times with Real Madrid, who's been there, done it, bought him for what was it, around about £70 million, big fee. And you're thinking, this guy's sat on the bench. How long is he going to sit there for? He was brought in for the games like Manchester City away to dictate games and to sit in there and organise the team. And I just think that Ten Hag maybe sort of was a little bit too loyal to McTominay there. So I think Manchester United fans have been wanting to see that change. So I expect that to see that. I think at the left back position, Malacia has been outstanding so far, but found it very tough against Manchester City. Was obviously replaced at half time with Luke Shaw, and that'll be an interesting selection for him as well.
A big game for Steve Cooper, Nottingham Forest, another Midlands derby on a Monday as well. They take on someone that you know very well, Stephen Gerrard's Aston Villa side. I want to quickly focus on Forest first. Obviously, look, first time in the Premier League for years, right? It's been so long since they've not been in the Premier League. 20 new signings coming in. The signings that have come in haven't really performed. You think of the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White. We haven't seen much from Jesse Lingard either. They look like they're going to keep faith with him for now. Does he deserve, does he have credit in the bank, considering where he took Forest from when he took over from Chris Hughton to get them into the Premier League? Yes, it's been a tough start, but so far, it's been a tough start for everyone at the bottom.
For me, he stays. He has to stay. When I look at the signings, I look at a lot of the signings and think, are they Steve Cooper signings? I'm not sure they are. I think he's been given players and asked to work with them. Now, if you're trying to gel players, it's very difficult to gel them in 7 or 8 games straight away. It's going to take time. I think if you ask Nottingham Forest fans, they'll say they want to keep Steve Cooper for what he's done for this for Nottingham Forest Football Club. That is incredible. There will be other fans that will be saying, "Okay, but he got us there, but now we need to stay there." Is he the man who's capable of doing that, or do we need someone who's tried and trusted in the Premier League? However, that next person who comes in has still got to try and gel those 20 new players who've come into a football club. They don't know each other that well. And that's often the problem when you bring in such an influx of new players. It's very difficult to get them to understand the system, what's being asked. And I think we saw that on the pitch where players were almost arguing about the system and what was happening and what was expected of them from their positions against Leicester. So it is a huge, huge game for Steve Cooper.
For Aston Villa, look, pressure is still on Steven Gerrard as well. You know, I look at sort of the starting 11 for Aston Villa and maybe go down to as far as sort of 14th or 15th in terms of players. And I think there's a squad there that should be fighting for top 8 position. I think it's such a good squad. What's going on with Villa? I mean, only 6 goals in the last 8 games, so they can't really score as well. And again, you look at the attacking talent. Steven Gerrard's got a job to do there still, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's got to. I think what Steven Gerrard has done is he's tried to go. He's not tried to fix the forward line first. He's tried to fix the defence first to make sure that they don't lose games. The least they come out with is a draw, and that's the important thing to do to make sure that you're getting points on the board. Also, the confidence. You look at the confidence of Watkins and Danny Ings. I think he would like to get both of those players into the team together, but it just doesn't fit. Coutinho doesn't seem his usual self. I think we saw a little bit of a spark from him when he initially came in, but he's nowhere near hit the heights that we know he's capable of. Just wonder, has he lost his spark in himself as well? Has that fire just gone out within him? Buendia did exceptionally well when he came onto the football pitch, but he's too inconsistent as well. I think a lot of Villa fans want him to play, but I understand Steven Gerrard's frustration with him because he's not being good enough. But the big thing is that the buck stops with Steven Gerrard. It's up to him to inspire this team to play better football. When I look at them, I just think they're too slow. They don't move the ball quick enough. There's not enough dynamic play from forward players, and it's a little bit too predictable for me.
Yeah, cheers, Stephen. All 20 Premier League clubs in action this weekend and Monday, and we're going to react to some of the results next week.